Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Franchising Matters video series brought to you by Reshift Media. My name is Steve Bjors, and I'll be your host for today. Today, I'm joined by Liane Caruso. Liane has an absolute depth of experience working in franchise marketing over the last 14 years. She launched her career in franchising with her own agency, focusing on local marketing programs for franchise brands. And after that agency was acquired, she worked with franchise brands to build local digital marketing campaigns, franchise development programs, and public relations tactics. In 2020, she built a franchise marketing consultancy called Hello CMO. Love the name, by the way. Offering fractional CMO or outsourced CMO engagements specifically for franchise brands and suppliers. And then earlier this year, because I guess she was bored, she launched Hello Masterminds for C-suite franchise marketers. Most recently, she partnered with Michael Hyam to create Franchise Assembly, which is a franchise sales and development education platform. And they're hosting their first event in this coming up February 4th to 6th in Dallas, called Let's Grow. And Liane has so many things she's involved in. I'll list some of the big ones. She's heavily involved in things like the Women's Franchising Committee for the International Franchise Association, the Supplier Forum Advisory Board for the International Franchise Association. She's also a board member for the Yum Center for Global Franchising. That's a lot. So Liane, thank you so much for making the time in that clearly very busy schedule for joining us today.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Really, really happy to see everything you're involved in. And the thing I actually want to start with, in your intro, I mentioned the upcoming event in Dallas with your new Franchise Assembly. Love to hear more about that. My understanding is that it's aimed at discussing franchise sales and development. Is that right?
That's right. So it's a conference kind of unlike anything else that's out there. It is an educational classroom style learning, all things franchise development and sales. So anybody who touches franchise dev, so that's CEOs, founders, brand dev, marketers, it's a way for us to bring all of the industry experts and to actually teach classes, because we don't have that in franchising right now. We have great conferences that exist that are geared towards franchise development, but we don't have classroom style learning for anything. And I think as these younger brands or emerging brands get into franchising, or people come into franchising with an established brand, but they don't have anywhere to go to learn the ins and outs of fran dev. And it's a unique beast. And I think that we need to legitimize the process a little bit more and kind of really all be on the same page about what we're promoting in franchise sales.
I love that. What made you come up with that? Because it is unique. I've been to more conferences than I can count, and you're exhausted by the end of 3 days. But I love the interactive element you're bringing into it. What made you think of that?
So I work with brands, small and big, and coming into the inside of the brands and coming into learning about the fran dev process. And sometimes these brands have 50 locations, but they don't have a process, or they don't understand the legal piece of it, which they should. They don't understand what kind of marketing tactics work, and they kind of hand off their franchise development to outsourced folks like FSOs or brokers or agencies, marketing agencies, to make it all happen. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those tactics, but as an owner or founder or fran dev team, if you're managing those tactics and you don't understand what your own vision and strategy, then there's a problem, because heaven forbid that broker goes away, the FSO goes away, then you have to take it on internally and you don't know what to do. So I've seen too many, kind of having to take a lot of steps backwards in order to take a few steps forward to kind of bring it back in and rein it all in for their own organization. And I just think that there's a big miss. So why not teach them from the very beginning? And then for the seasoned folks, they're out there, but they got to learn the new stuff too and stay on top of the trends. And so we have a little bit of everything for anybody and everybody who touches franchise development. I just don't think it's out there yet.
I love it. Well, I haven't seen it, so
yeah.
I absolutely love it. Looking forward to that one. Again, that's February 4th to 6th in Dallas, if I recall. So as you're setting up for that conference, I'm curious. So you're in the industry every day. What do you see going on in 2023? Is there anything different you see in 2023 than you would have seen, say, in 2022 or 2021?
So I would say that I think there's a lot more, like in-person is back. The in-person discovery days are back. and actually a combination of both. So there's that flexibility depending on who's in the funnel, to do a virtual discovery day, but then bringing them back in-house, meeting the team, seeing the offices, going to other franchise offices. So I think that that's a big win that we get to have in-person discovery days back. I think video is huge. Not enough people are doing it, but people are more and more starting to invest in it. And I think that that's just such a great way to tell a story and to really optimize your website. But for those people who are doing the research online first, they can find the journeys, they can find the franchisee testimonials, they can find the owner founder talking about their vision. And I think it's a great way for them to kind of really learn about the concept before getting to meet the people in person.
Well, it humanizes the brand too, right? Because then you get a feeling for what the organization's like without having to necessarily, before you get to meet them. So I think that really makes good sense. And absolutely agree. Video is so much easier, as evidenced by what we're doing right here.
Right. And it doesn't, the professional ones, of course, are necessary, but even on social media and, different webinars, it doesn't have to be like so professionally nailed down. People want it real. People want to see the person behind the business or behind the brand. And I think that there's, like I said, there's a little more flexibility there. And so you can talk to people, you can do these face-to-face interviews, and people can buy into the brand a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely makes great sense. And yeah, it actually kind of dovetails into the next question I wanted to ask, which is there anything you're seeing in terms of how potential franchisees are evaluating opportunities these days? So obviously the last 18 months, economy's been a little different. You mentioned also there's just changing behaviors, people getting back in person, people watching video more. Have you seen a change in how people evaluate opportunities? Have you seen a change in the sales cycle at all recently?
I haven't seen too much of a change in the sales cycle, at least in the last year or so. I think that, people are still doing a lot of research online. I think we need to do a better job with all of the online portals and magazines and all of that stuff. Do a better job of nurturing people through the funnel. So that's more content, more email nurturing, and we can do that as brands as well. So I think that I haven't noticed a slowdown specifically, and I haven't noticed a slowdown in the sales cycle, at least on some of the brands that I touch. A recession always kind of leans towards franchising anyway. So if anything, I'm actually seeing it speed up a little bit. Again, those are the brands that I touch right now, so I can't speak for others that are out there, but even one of the brands we were talking about yesterday, they are neck and neck with where they were last year. So I think I haven't seen a slowdown from my perspective.
Well, that's interesting. And can you talk a bit more about, you said something interesting in there where you were talking about during a recession, you tend to see a bit of a growth in franchising. Is that because people feel being part of a system gives them some security, they have a known process, known brand, gives them a better chance of success, or is there some other reason, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that they're part of a system. The mom and pop shops during COVID tended to close, but the franchises stayed open because they had the bigger support backbone. So I think that, and people want to leave their jobs, more and more people are just wanting to do their own thing because it feels like they have more control doing their own thing, which is, I think, backwards than the way people used to think. Now it's like people have a corporate job and you're supposed to feel secure, but I don't think anybody feels really secure in a corporate job anymore. Not anybody that I know. I feel more secure on my own, doing my own thing, because I have control over my own business. I can see things coming and I can make the changes. So I think it is a little backward thinking than probably what it was many years ago. And I think people just want to own their own thing. They want to buy for their kids. They want generational wealth. They want, they want the kid is coming out of college. Let's get them a business and then we can all work on it together and they can have something that they can be proud of.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think COVID was a real shock to the system for a lot of people where you felt secure and suddenly you felt quite powerless in a situation where you didn't have the control. So very interesting points. So tell me, Liane, as someone who's, again, in it every day. What is it that nobody's talking about, but they should be when it comes to franchise development?
So I think this is going to be a little backwards from what we talk about a lot, and that's franchise growth. So I think that what we're not talking about is slowing down growth and being more strategic with our growth. So brands that instead of having a 50 location goal this year, they have a 10 location goal, like emerging brands, because they need to build the system. They need to build the infrastructure. They need to build the process. They need to have happy franchisees. When you grow too fast, there's a chance of implosion, and it's really hard to recover from that. And so I think that I've heard it mentioned a few times here and there, but I think that strategic growth is going to become more of a thing. And I hope that it does, because it's more responsible for the franchisor. It's more responsible for the franchisees. And I think in the end, you become more successful and you'll have stronger growth in the end.
Yeah, a little bit of patience goes a long way sometimes.
Right.
And it's well said, because if you try and grow too fast and suddenly you have unhappy franchisees and you have some franchisees who are struggling financially, like that obviously is going to be a real drag on your future growth and your opportunity.
Right.
In fact, I mean, it takes you more time to manage that than it would be if you went a bit slower.
Sure. And if they're unhappy, then they're not validating. So then you're not getting new franchisees. If they close, then you have a system with your issue. You have an issue with your system to begin with. So it's just being responsible about your growth and being strategic about it, and being sure that, you're awarding franchises to, you're mutually interviewing each other, and you're awarding a franchise. You're not taking their money and like opening and setting them free. I think it's really important that the relationship shifts. I think some brands are doing it really, really well. And then some brands are, they're excited. They're excited about growth and scalability. But I think it's smart to be more strategic.
It's a long-term relationship, so we got to make sure this works.
Right. We're getting married.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I think marriage might be a little bit easier, frankly.
Right.
So. Well, I think that's a great insight, and thank you. So as you look forward into 2024, what do you see on the horizon? What are the things that we should be looking at from a franchise development perspective?
We're all fishing in a very small pond for relatively the same people. So finding new tactics is hard. And I think that we're all just trying to get a little more innovative. So it's really who does what better and kind of tells the story better and gets in front of the person first and nurtures them through the funnel. Like I mentioned earlier, I think nurturing through the funnel is really, really important. So again, nurturing through video, through more content, through email nurturing programs. I don't think we do a great job of email nurturing, using text messaging to just kind of, these people are busy, and just kind of staying on top of them and in front of them, meet them where they are. I think that that's just going to be really important to continue to evolve the nurturing process. Websites are great. People are going to go there for information. And, the more you have of the story and of the journey on your website, I think it'd be really helpful, because people are going to do so much more research before they give their information. They're just not going to want to give up their information for nothing. So let's get them nurtured, learn about the brand, and then when they're there, they're a high quality candidate. They're ready.
Well, and that's a great point, because with the information online from not just the brand that you might have as a franchisor, but all of your competitor brands, people basically self-manage their funnel now, right? So as they're moving through their decision process, they're self-managing themselves because the information is so widely available. So I totally agree that if you think through those touch points, be that your website or an email or whatever it is through your funnel, having those nice touch points to help nurture them, I do think most franchise systems are not thinking about it quite that way. That's
very, very true. I think the mindset of the Fran Dev teams, and rightly so. It's a sales function, right? Is leads, did they convert? But there's a bigger picture to that, and so I think this is another thing that I hope to see more of in 2024 and beyond, is that they bring marketers into the franchise development departments, because marketing supports sales. And when you don't have the marketers in that sales function, then the sales folks are out there trying to manage and handle the marketing on their own. And they should be selling. That's not something they should be doing. And there's bigger picture to the sales process and the sales funnel. And that includes brand awareness, brand exposure, content, all of those things to get you from point A to point B to that lead conversion number. So what we have a big miss in a lot of these brands is there's no marketers supporting the Fran Dev teams, or again, they're out getting their own agencies. Sometimes they have their own websites and they're not even like coordinated or consistent with the consumer side, which is also a big miss because there should be alignment there in messaging and design. And they really should have an overarching plan together. So I think there's some gaps there in how we run the business. And so I'm hoping that the sales folks will get marketing support, better marketing support, and people who are focused on marketing so that we can give them the tools and resources they need to bring in those leads. And it's not just, click on this ad, you get a lead. It's the bigger picture, the content, the PR, the digital, because you have to be in so many different places.
Well said.
Can't just be in one. So
well said. Well said. So I think we leave it on that because that was an amazing point. So thank you so much, Liane. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for sharing all these great insights. For those of you who've been watching and listening, really hope you enjoyed it. Again, don't forget about the Let's Grow conference, early February in Dallas. And thank you again, Liane. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.